He did all he could do with what he was given, and he left it here for us to enjoy. Chad will live.
I know you have also inspired and motivated others. An offering from a sage and a king is more than silver and gold.
I'm dead.
I'm not ready for you to be dead, Chadwick.
But I am.
There's a saying, when the devil ignores you, then you know you're doing something wrong.
It turns out that Chadwick Boseman and Denzel were fated to cross paths on their journeys to success. Chad openly acknowledged Denzel's pivotal role in shaping his life and career, expressing his gratitude in a uniquely cool manner.
Imagine receiving a letter that your tuition for that summer was paid for and that your benefactor was none other than the dopest actor on the planet.
Denzel, however, sees himself as merely playing a role in a larger narrative. Over the years, the entertainment industry has witnessed its share of tragedies, with reports of celebrities, including singers and artists, passing away in mysterious circumstances. Many of these individuals were fighting battles in private, while the world assumed that the glamour of the red carpet represented their lives. Unfortunately, this was often not the case, as was true with Chadwick Boseman. Boseman, who became an icon for the Black community and the world even before his passing, had close relationships with many in Hollywood. However, one of his strongest yet least publicized bonds was with veteran actor Denzel Washington. Boseman described Denzel as the dopest actor on the planet and a father figure within the industry. This became evident when Boseman's moving speeches about Denzel started circulating on social media, eliciting admiration from listeners who were touched by Boseman's deep regard for Denzel. Not only that, it appears that the respect and love Boseman expressed for Denzel was reciprocated. Denzel, the Equalizer actor, also showed his emotions when his former protege spoke about him to the world. This heartfelt exchange has sparked varied reactions from the public, some finding it touching and others suggesting Denzel's response was belated. However, one thing is clear: Boseman's life in the media only scratches the surface of who he truly was and the challenges he faced while navigating the entertainment industry.
And I've basically been holding this secret in my whole career. When I came back, I got a beneficiary letter, and it said, Denzel Washington paid for you.
Almost everyone has heard the story of Chadwick Boseman's rise to iconic status in Hollywood. From delivering stellar performances in Marvel's Avengers to headlining his own superhero movie franchise, Boseman experienced one of the most meteoric ascents to the top of his field. However, the somber aspect of this narrative is that his breakthrough came relatively late in his career. Many assume that Boseman's success in Marvel movies reflected success throughout his entire career, but this was far from reality. In truth, the actor faced significant challenges and setbacks before achieving recognition on the screens of superhero franchises. His journey and roles can be traced back to Denzel Washington's generosity, a fact confirmed by Boseman himself. Denzel, renowned as one of the greatest forces in today's film industry, might be expected to be distant due to his fame and fortune. However, he has dedicated himself to promoting other talents in Hollywood. The reason we don't often hear about Denzel Washington's generosity is because he prioritized anonymity over the years. However, Boseman was determined not to let Washington's good deeds go unnoticed. At the AFI Lifetime Achievement Award event in 2019, Boseman delivered a poignant speech honoring Washington, revealing that Washington had paid his tuition for a summer acting program while Boseman was studying at Howard University. He said, "Many of you already know the story that Mr. Washington, when asked by Felicia Rashad to join her in assisting 9 theater students from Howard University, who had been accepted to a summer actor program at the British Academy of Dramatic Acting in Oxford, he gracefully and privately agreed to contribute. As fate would have it, I was one of the students that he paid for. Imagine receiving the letter that your tuition for that summer was paid for and that your benefactor was none other than the dopest actor on the planet." Footage of Boseman delivering a powerful commencement speech at his alma mater has gone viral following his passing.
Offering from a sage and a king is more than silver and gold. It is a seed of hope, a bud of faith. There is no Black Panther without Denzel Washington.
The actor's speech has resonated deeply with people, and many have openly discussed its impact. One person wrote, "The fact that he was terrible ill when giving this speech is incredible. He loved to make his dream true, not to catch some easy tears. What a wonderful person we lost." Another one added, "When he said, 'There is no Black Panther without Denzel Washington, man, that hit so hard.' Two great phenomenal actors. R.I.P. Chadwick, and God bless Denzel Washington." In addition to following the the blueprint laid out for him and helping others along that path, Boseman made it a priority to lead a life that would be remembered in history books. One well-known aspect of his legacy is his regular visits to hospitals, particularly due to his superhero persona at the time. What many people didn't realize then was that the actor was battling serious personal challenges behind closed doors.
Came in and he came and he hugged me. It's like literally, I think it's the best response I've ever gotten as far as the character goes. So thank you.
In fact, when Matt Maggard, the father of Hayden Maggard, a boy whom Boseman had visited at the hospital while he was alive, read on August 28, 2020, that the actor had been living with cancer when he met their son, he started to cry. Nobody understands unless they've been there and how hard it is to go to St. Jude and see these kids in that state. And I mean, for a normal, healthy human being to go there and take the tour, it's gotta be shocking, Matt said. But for somebody who's already been diagnosed and going through treatment for 2 years to go and face that, I mean, that's just incredible. Boseman grew up in Anderson, South Carolina, with his 2 older brothers, mother, a nurse, and father, who worked for an agriculture conglomerate and had an upholstery business. Their family home was filled with books on culture and history, which Boseman would explore to learn about inspiring people of color. At the age of 12, he first read his older brother's copy of the autobiography of Malcolm X. Boseman was not only artistic, gifted in drawing and sculpting, but also a competitive basketball player who enjoyed challenging his oldest brother Derek in sports. He looked up to his brother Kevin, who was involved in dance and acting, serving as an inspiration to Boseman's artistic pursuits.
He loved to sing. We sang together. He was just full of passion. He loved people. He loved kids. He loved his family.
Boseman often sat with his mother in the back of the theater, watching his brother Kevin perform, which ignited his passion for theater. His interest in drama deepened during his senior year of high school when a basketball teammate passed away, prompting Boseman to channel his emotions into writing a play. He continued to pursue his passion at Howard University, where he excelled in the directing program. During his time at Howard, Boseman wrote 2 plays, one of which was Hieroglyphic Graffiti, a modern hip-hop-infused retelling of an ancient myth. Boseman was initially a directing major at Howard University, but took an acting workshop with Felicia Rashad, who was impressed by his talent and encouraged him to audition for a summer acting program at Oxford. Rashad also reached out to Denzel Washington for support, which ultimately changed Boseman's life trajectory. Beyond the financial assistance, Washington likely influenced Boseman in more profound ways. After his experience at Oxford, Boseman decided to pursue acting more seriously, leading him to move to New York City after graduation. His parents supported him during film school and even covered his rent during challenging times at the start of his acting career. Early on, Boseman found himself cast in soap opera episodes as a character that he felt was stereotypically written. When he raised questions about the character's backstory and motivations with network executives, they perceived him as difficult and subsequently let him go. From that point on, Boseman became selective about the roles he accepted, choosing characters he was proud to portray and whose stories were socially significant. He sought roles that showcased men who made a difference. This intentional approach took years to bear fruit, but it ultimately paid off when he was cast as the lead in 42, portraying the great Jackie Robinson.
Around here assuming that the black characters in the show are criminals on and deadbeat parents, then that would probably be stereotypical.
Boseman's dedication to his roles was remarkable. He learned baseball to embody Jackie Robinson in 42, mastered dance to portray James Brown in Get On Up, and further showcased his versatility by portraying Thurgood Marshall, the first African-American Supreme Court Justice, in Marshall. Then came T'Challa in Black Panther. Even in his role as a superhero, Boseman fought to humanize T'Challa. One significant aspect was his insistence on using an African accent for the character. While Marvel initially preferred an English or American accent, Boseman advocated for an African accent to authentically represent the character's heritage and cultural background. It felt to me like a deal breaker, he told The Hollywood Reporter. I was like, no, this is such an important factor that if we lose this right now, what else are we going to throw away for the sake of making people feel comfortable? Following its release, Black Panther swiftly became the highest-grossing superhero movie ever in the United States. Despite the immense demand for his talent, Boseman remained selective in his choice of projects, carefully considering the stories he wanted to tell through his roles. You become more and more selective because you realize how much it takes out of you, Boseman told Hunger magazine in 2017. Some days you come home and you realize there's this extra psychological energy that you've been using to stay in that place for an entire day. You feel the fatigue of carrying around this other way of thinking, this different body, this different life. It can be emotional, it can be physical, and sometimes there's a little bit of trauma with that. By the end of the process, you just want to get to the place where you're no longer carrying the weight of that person. So when you choose the roles, I think you're very selective about it because you value your time on this earth. It's so valuable because you're spending 4 or 5 or 6 months with this character, if not longer. You make those choices very, very carefully. Well, theories also circulated that Boseman died right after receiving his Oscar, and people could not stop relating to the Oscar curse about which Denzel has also talked. Just like Boseman was focused on rewriting stereotypes about Black people through his roles, Denzel Washington has been fighting that battle long before Boseman entered the scene. It appears that Boseman may have learned many valuable lessons from Washington. Over the years, Washington has been vocal about the racial challenges he faced on his journey to stardom, from being overlooked at major award shows due to his race, to experiencing discrimination while filming in his own country, and even being subjected to racial slurs.
I got a part in a movie in 1986. I called it They Couldn't.
Hollywood's brightest luminaries graced the Oscars this year, each harboring aspirations of clutching the coveted Academy Award. Considered the pinnacle of cinematic recognition, an Oscar win possesses the transformative power to catapult an actor into instant global stardom, unlocking new avenues of opportunity. Yet, amidst the glittering allure of the golden statuette, whispers of a darker phenomenon persist: the infamous Oscars curse.
This is one of the happiest moments of my life. And I want to thank each one of you who had a part in selecting me for one of the awards. For your kindness, it has made me feel very, very humble.
It's rather surprising to note the extensive roster of actors who've fallen victim to the Oscars curse, spanning from Hattie McDaniel to Morgan Freeman. Curiously, the Oscar accolade hasn't seemed to bode well for many Black actors. The Academy's penchant for gravitating toward weighty, dramatic performances in what's often termed as Oscar bait projects seems to overshadow the artistry inherent in comedic acting. Even in the realm of serious roles, Black actors find themselves pigeonholed into portrayals of slaves, individuals in feminine attire, or characters enduring oppression, a stark and limiting representation.
Turn the heat up. Back there it's nice and warm, but over here, ooh, it's cold as hell and freezing. This is very nice.
Firstly, Eddie Murphy has only received 1 Oscar nomination, and it was for his role in Bill Condon's musical, Dreamgirls. Murphy himself has acknowledged in interviews that he may not have exerted as much effort in that film as he does in most of his comedic roles.
One of the greatest, funniest people of all time was George Carlin, and he received this award posthumously.
One performance that continues to be critically examined in hindsight is his work in The Nutty Professor, where he used makeup and prosthetics to portray the entire Klump family. A similar technique was applied in the Coming to America films, particularly in the iconic barbershop scene.
Yeah, I ain't saying Clay ain't bad. I'm just saying I stopped liking Cassius Clay once he changed his name to Muhammad Ali. What kind of shit is that?
During a conversation with Coming to America director Craig Brewer on the Real Blend podcast, we brought up Murphy's repeated snubs by the Academy, and Brewer shared his insights on why this pattern persists. He said, "It really bothers me, and I feel that it's even more stilted against Eddie because the problem that I think people have with Eddie is that they think that it's easy for him. I'm sure there are many things in Eddie's life that feel easy, but what people don't know is what I see, which is him sitting in his chair, in makeup, he's putting on music, he's getting into a place, he's rehearsing these lines. You see him where he doesn't fool around on set. When you're in between takes, he goes to his chair and you see him get into this trance where he is working and working and working. There's craft there, and I worry that people think that like, oh, well, Eddie's just showing up and being funny like he's always done. And that's just not true. Yes, he's showing up and being hilarious, but it's not like he's just flipping a switch. Fans believe that it's indeed an unjust evaluation of comedians, and Eddie Murphy is not the sole funny individual to be overlooked due to the Academy's reluctance to fully recognize comedic talents. One person wrote on the internet, "No one ever said Hollywood had morals. The award bit is true. The 1995 movie Heat had one of the most realistic gunfights ever filmed, and it didn't even get a nomination for the Oscars." Another one added, "For award shows, it's also about campaigning and which studio will spend the most money to wow the jury." like Weinstein famously did. And you didn't talk about the pedophilia problem concerning chid actors. Craig Brewer highlighted the year when Kevin Kline won the Best Supporting Actor award for A Fish Called Wanda as an example. But for every such victory, numerous outstanding comedic performances, like those by Kristen Wiig or Jim Carrey, are unfortunately excluded from the Oscar race.
And this is the movie that I knew that we were going to have that as well, because you're seeing people that you haven't seen in a long time. I mean, I even remember doing like this push-in on Arsenio Hall.
Craig Brewer expressed the view that when you talk to any dramatic actor or actress, they tend to share a common sentiment. According to him, comedy is significantly more challenging because it lacks the immediate feedback of laughter in the room, requiring a quiet atmosphere. Comedic performances demand a deep understanding of timing and the ability to engage with an audience that isn't physically present. Brewer believed that comedy often involves a higher level of awareness and craftsmanship, depending on the material, in comparison to some dramatic roles where characters may resort to more straightforward emotional expressions, making them relatively easier to portray.
Make these films so great. The comedy is funny because the drama's real. And I think that at the end of the day, Coming to America is about family, especially this one, considering his daughter's in the movie.
I'm very pleased that you mentioned that.
The Oscars have faced criticism for not being inclusive towards Black actors, with several controversies tarnishing the award show's reputation. One notable incident occurred in 2019 when Kevin Hart stepped down as the Oscars host due to the resurfacing of past homophobic tweets. Furthermore, the #OscarsSoWhite campaign has called for increased diversity and recognition of people of color and marginalized communities within the industry. This has led to a perception that Hollywood's prestigious Walk of Fame now resembles more of a walk of shame due to its lack of stars representing diversity.
Kevin Hart has stepped down from hosting this year's Oscars. He put out a statement on Twitter tonight saying, "I have made the choice to step down."
In a February afternoon in 1940s America, actress Hattie McDaniel achieved a historic milestone by winning the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress in Gone with the Wind, 1940. Notably, she became the first African American to receive this prestigious film award. While celebrating her victory and leaving an indelible mark on cinema history, the joy was tempered by the stark reality that she would be segregated from the rest of the attendees at an Oscars ceremony that effectively operated as a whites-only event. Instead of being a celebration, this event was marked more by segregation than jubilation.
I sincerely hope I shall always be a credit to my race and to the motion picture industry. My heart is too full to tell you just how I feel.
80 years later, the film industry still grapples with a form of routine discrimination, despite some progress in increasing diversity. The 2020 Oscars ceremony was marred by racial controversies that have become all too common for both viewers and industry participants. Major snubs, such as the omission of Lupita Nyong'o for her outstanding performance in the 2019 film Us, exemplify this issue.
And the Oscar goes to Lupita Nyong'o.
Eddie Murphy has pointed out that the reason behind such discrimination are undisclosed contracts. Apparently, the actors sign that contract and win the Academy Award, which leads us to the fact that they probably become sellouts. The narrative unfolds with more than just a single celebrity sharing their cautionary tale of potentially aligning too closely with the influential figures at the top of the entertainment hierarchy. It's a chorus of voices led by Denzel Washington. Rather than immediately outing the prominent figures, Washington initiated the conversation by critiquing his colleagues in the industry for what he perceived as their misguided sense of self-importance. He expressed that we are now in an era where many are growing weary of the woke Hollywood elites who come across as self-righteous and superior.
People say, oh, the difficulty of making a movie. I'm like, send your son to Iraq. That's difficult. It's just a movie. It's like, relax.
Washington criticized those in the industry who take the stage to self-congratulate and offer life guidance to others while living in opulent mansions. Nevertheless, not all the most renowned stars fall into this category. Denzel Washington, for instance, is an individual who prioritizes what truly matters in life, and he isn't pleased with how some of his colleagues in the entertainment industry behave. Denzel, who has won an Oscar, doesn't just stop there. He doesn't believe that making movies is super hard. He even compared it to simpler jobs like being a garbage man or dealing with the challenges of war.
I like being a garbage man better. But they weren't bad jobs. It's like people say, oh, the difficulty of making a movie. I'm like, send your son to Iraq. That's difficult.
Similar to Eddie's and Denzel's willingness to address the industry's shortcomings, other celebrities have also spoken out about peculiar occurrences within the entertainment world. One such individual is Cat Williams, who took a more direct approach to shedding light on issues within the industry. The comedian recently made pointed comments about his industry peer, Jamie Foxx, suggesting that Foxx may have compromised his integrity for the sake of an award. But that's only part of what Williams had to say about the actor. Around a decade ago, during a performance in Los Angeles, Cat Williams openly discussed a rumor regarding Jamie Foxx's sexual orientation. He straightforwardly stated, "Who's gay? Jamie Foxx." Williams even went as far as to mention a name, claiming, "I can even tell you the name of the dude his name is Marcus Anthony. He's the only dude signed to Jamie Foxx's label." Then the comedian kept going and said a lot of negative things about Foxx. He used strong language and said, "Forget Jamie Foxx and the money he got from Django Unchained." He also said, "They gave me the script and I said, any guy who does this should die." And the next thing I knew, Jamie Foxx was getting ready for the movie. After that, the comedian leveled further accusations against Foxx, suggesting that Foxx made significant sacrifices to secure an Oscar. Cat Williams appeared to believe that Foxx's path to success was marked by numerous challenging moments, which have led him to surmise that Foxx may have indeed sacrificed something significant along the way. Jamie Foxx is a multi-talented individual who began his career with humorous sketches and subsequently transitioned into acting, ultimately earning an Academy Award for his achievements. However, the situation may have been more complex than Cat Williams portrayed it. According to reports, Jamie Foxx didn't initially view his Oscar nomination with the seriousness it deserved. Like a typical newcomer in the industry, he thought there was no chance of winning against the seasoned nominees. As it turns out, the industry's decision makers may have had a plan in place from the very beginning.
What happened was that I didn't have a clique. I didn't have a crew in LA, and everybody had a clique. The Wayans had a crew. It was like 9,000 of them.
Seems like it was so hard for Jamie to get an Academy Award. "When I was up for the Oscar, I didn't really think it was a big deal," Foxx explained. "I thought there's no way I'm going to win that thing. I saw Oscar time as a reason to have fun. I was like, oh, I'm nominated? Let's celebrate with champagne and party." I remember having those photo-taking people following me for the first time. I went a bit crazy. At the Golden Globes, I had some champagne and I acted pretty silly on the red carpet. Looking back, I realized I wasn't respectful to the whole thing. Foxx talked about going to the show with a friend and being nominated for many awards that year. On the red carpet, he and his friend were shouting about how many awards they were up for that night in a way that seems immature. He said his publicist called him and scolded him for his behavior, saying, "What are you doing? Can't you see how embarrassing this is? You have a chance, but you need to act a certain way." In hindsight, it appears that the nomination may have served as a way for the industry elites to prepare Jamie Foxx for what lay ahead. It seems Foxx had reached a pivotal juncture in his career, where he was on the cusp of being inducted into the upper echelons of the industry.
And then I get a call, and on the other end of the phone says, "Hi, Jamie Foxx." "Who's this?" "This is Oprah."
The initial intervention to guide Jamie Foxx on the path expected by the industry's elites came from a renowned media mogul. This prominent television personality personally reached out to Foxx, delivering a candid message that he was potentially blowing it. She told me, "You really have a great chance to do something that is wonderful, and the character you played touched so many people, but not if you act like this," Foxx said.
Oprah says, "Okay, you want to meet who you're supposed to meet here?" I said, "Yeah." "He's right there." And it was Sidney Poitier.
The influential media figure appeared to have a strategic plan in mind. She invited Jamie Foxx to a gathering at Quincy Jones's residence, where Foxx had the opportunity to interact with several actors and actresses he had long admired from his youth. They expressed their admiration for his work and extended their congratulations. However, the primary reason the media boss brought Foxx to the party was for him to meet one particular individual, Sidney Poitier. Standing in a tuxedo in the corner was Sidney Poitier, Foxx said. "I walked up to him and he said, 'I watched your performance and I grew 2 inches. I leave you with one thing, responsibility.'" Following his introduction to Sidney Poitier, Jamie Foxx's career took a significant upswing, with numerous major awards and increasing success. However, as he appeared to have a change of heart, he found himself embroiled in a misconduct investigation. And even after surviving that, he ended up in the hospital. This highlights that even individuals of Foxx's stature aren't immune to the influence of powerful figures within the industry.
Every time there's success, you have to be prepared for the darkness because you can't have sunshine without darkness. So it's always this balance.
The industry elites have also potentially attempted to ruin the careers of other actors who sought to distance themselves from their control, including Cuba Gooding. Cuba Gooding's story is somewhat different from the typical narrative surrounding famous personalities. The Hollywood power players not only derailed his popularity, but also disrupted his life beyond the glamorous world of entertainment. However, it's important to note that Gooding also played a role in his own downfall.
And then, you know, it's one of those moments in my life where I was trying to numb the pain. So I would, you know, just kind of...
During the late 1990s and early 2000s, Cuba Gooding enjoyed significant success in Hollywood, garnering attention for his roles in TV shows like Hill Street Blues and MacGyver. He reached new heights with his performance in John Singleton's acclaimed film, Boys and the Hood. Cuba Gooding Jr. won an Oscar in 1997 for his work in Jerry Maguire, but almost 2 decades later, the Academy Awards have failed to make much progress. Following the widespread disappointment of this year's Oscar nominees, which did not recognize a single actor of color, Variety asked Gooding Jr. his opinion on the #Oscars So White backlash. "You want it to be diverse. You want the work to show," Gooding Jr. told Variety and other reporters this weekend at the Television Critics Association press tour in Pasadena, Calif. "I wanted Straight Outta Compton to get something, but, you know, it's this conversation that makes people think harder when the nominations come around for next year." Anyways, the troubles for Cuba Gooding Jr. began in June 2019 when USA Today reported an investigation into an incident where he was accused of touching a woman inappropriately at a New York City bar while he was intoxicated. Subsequently, Gooding voluntarily went to the police and was arrested.
When a woman alleges Gooding touched her inappropriately at a different nightclub, and another incident where he allegedly grabbed a woman's at this bar in June.
This proved to be a turning point in his career, and like him, it seems like Chadwick is also a part of the Oscars curse. That's it for today. See you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.